We are live. Welcome back to the Questions Concerning podcast. I'm your host, Gabriella Jones. And today we have a very special guest, Danielle, my sister-in-law. Say hi to the people.
Hey.
All right, we're going to open up. You had a great idea that I absolutely love with a nice little icebreaker. So the question is, what is your go-to coffee drink?
Vanilla sweet cream cold brew with a drizzle of caramel on the top. And you got to line the cup with drizzle with caramel too.
Awesome. Is that like super sweet though? Like
it is. It's really bad.
I was like, how much coffee?
It's really and I'm over here thinking venti size. So we're talking large. It's bad. It's so bad. I probably should calm down, but I won't. But I probably should.
No worries. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about motherhood, your journey. You have a child who is now 7 months, Autumn, little baby Autumn, and yeah, we're going to start not just like with your journey of pregnancy and of giving birth, but from where I am, and that's like in my 20s, single, living in the city, like having a good time, and just the considerations you had that brought you to where you are today. So my first question for you is, when you were in your 20s, what was the conversation and the dialogues you were having with friends about kids and about having children?
I actually wasn't having too much. Like you're saying, you're living your life.
Yeah.
As was I. So I knew that I wanted to be married. I knew that I wanted kids, but I didn't have this whole, this white picket fence and this and that. I'm going to have 3 kids. I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking of having a good time. You know, I was in college at one point. After college, a few years after that, I lived on my own. So I was living on my own, living it up. Should have probably had a little bit of a different mindset, but I knew what I wanted long term, but I was really more so focused on the short term part of it and just getting to what I need to get in that time. Now, career wise, I was extremely focused career.
Gotcha.
But in terms of the family life, short term, but long term, I did know. So.
Gotcha. Okay, so you were going more down the career route.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Did you have a moment where, I don't know, I feel like, so I'm 25 right now, so I don't know, I'm not panicking in terms of like my timeline of having children. But did you have like a moment? I feel like when I hit 28, 29, I'm gonna start having the like thoughts of, okay, clock tickety tick out here. Did you like have a kind of switch or like turnover of, all right, I'm 29 and now I need to start thinking about this more?
I did. I feel like that's kind of stereotypical. Like most people like, when I turned 30, but that was me. I was 29, almost 30. And I was like, okay, I need to get serious. How do I want my life to look? What does that look like for me? And then, yes, that's when I was like, okay, I want to get more in the mindset of looking for a husband, or being in that mindset of being ready, not necessarily looking, but being ready for a husband. I was even looking at one point of buying a house at that point. So I was really, my mindset was, once I got to 29, my mindset was just that. So, yeah.
Was that like scary at all or alarming? Like, I don't know, like the thought of maybe not being able to get to those goals or the plan. Did you ever like think like, oh shoot, this isn't actually gonna come to fruition?
No. I don't ever remember having that thought at 29, 30. I just remember feeling ready.
Wow.
Yeah, and just wanting my life to go a certain way and what I need to do to align myself to that. So, yeah.
Did you ever consider having a child outside of marriage, or like raising a child on your own, or adopting, or anything like that?
No, I knew that I wanted to be married. I knew that I wanted to have kids. I wanted to do it in that order.
Okay, so if you didn't get married, you wouldn't have kids?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably not. I don't know that I would want to. I think in terms of just having kids, now that I have them, being a single mom, it's like hats off and kudos to all single parents. Seriously, it's a lot of work. So the mindset that I had then, I don't know that I would have wanted to have kids without having a partner, having a husband, because of one of those reasons. So, yeah.
So when you found Brother Man, how?
I love that.
When you found him, did you feel relief in terms of like seeing the next steps? Because I think I like am imagining this anxiety, or talking to other 30-year-olds, you know, early 30s, of like not having a partner or just like trying to figure out the situation. And there's always this sense of like anxiety and racing the clock. Did you have that? And then when you found him, like, did that settle? Or were you like, this was always going to happen? Like, we just going with the books.
That's a good question. I think a piece of my 30s, I did. And then it's funny, actually, right before John and I met, I was like, okay, Lord, if this is what it's supposed to be and I'm not supposed to get married, or it's not my time, then let me know. Because I got to the point where I was content in my singleness. And I think that's also important, to be content where you are, because it may not happen, and being okay with that. But if it happens, great. But if it doesn't, there's more to life. You know what I mean? Being married and having kids is great. It's beautiful. It's all of the things.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't happen, there's still things to do. Life is not over. But you have to be in that state of mind. You have to be content. You have to feel confident in yourself. Like, all of these things go into play, or come into play, before you can even be ready for that.
Wow. See, that's
It gets real deep.
Haven't gotten to that one yet. So you were fine. You were like, if this isn't gonna happen.
Not the whole time, though. Let's be clear.
Okay, not the whole time.
No, but there was a piece right before John and I met where I just felt like, okay, if this is it, let me know.
How long did it take you to get to that point?
I think it took me a few years. So I had a surgery at 29 and then again at 30. And I think after those surgeries is when I was like, okay, what are you doing with your life? Figure it out. You know, you're out here. It's time to, you know, come back and figure it out. Do what God has called you to do. So I kind of had that sense of real strong just purpose. So I probably would say early 30s is when just the light switch came on, and I was literally like, okay, what I need to be doing.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, I was out here enjoying life, but I still had that, like I was mentioning earlier, I had that long-term goal in mind. But I think I more so got serious about it definitely in my 30s.
So that's when the turnover happens.
Well, for me.
For you.
Yours could be earlier. You still got a couple years.
Cool. Okay. Let's get a little bit into marriage and deciding to have kids and all of that stuff. So you got married in 2020? No way. 2021. I was like, no way. Nobody was doing nothing in 2020. 2021. How did that go in terms of talks of like having children? When are we having children? How many children?
That was during the dating phase.
Whoa.
We were like, okay, you know, how many kids do we want? What does that look like? So during the dating phase, when we had those conversations about marriage, because in the beginning of us dating, I mean, we're both over 30. And so for the most part, I'd like to think that most couples do kind of have those conversations a lot faster than when you're in your 20s and dating, because it's like, I'm not playing any games. We have to be in alignment before we even move forward. So a lot of those questions happened, and the answers that we both received were in the beginning, in the dating phase.
Okay, cool. So, like, having a child was planned, I guess, in 2020. Like, and you knew that you wanted to have a child shortly after getting married. Like that distance.
Yeah, but I didn't put a lot of pressure on myself for that, because that was important. I'm like, if it happens, that's great. I want it to happen, but I don't want to be upset, or, you know, I didn't want to set these expectations to where I'm like focusing, that's my goal. Like, my marriage is going to come first. So I want to make sure that the marriage is solid. Our foundation is solid. Like, that's going to be important. But I love kids. I knew that I wanted to have kids. And I don't remember if we really had a timeline. If we did, we might have said a year.
Okay.
After marriage.
Got you. And then getting married, you did become a mother. You became a stepmother too.
I did.
So, how was that transition? Like, even before having like your own child and bearing, you know, your own baby, how was it becoming a mother to preteen, teenager.
It has its challenging moments, just, thinking of just myself going from being single and in my 20s, even part of my 30s, and then boom, you're getting married. And then you're also, you have a child as well, or a preteen at that time as well. So I think there are challenges just because of, from a generation standpoint. So kids these days and how their thought process, getting used to not having any children to boom, having kids. So I think it was more just a process or a mind shift for me. Like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is my life now. It's not like I didn't know.
Yeah.
We knew. He didn't keep anything away. Thank God. He kept nothing. Oh, wait. We were very honest and upfront and vulnerable with each other.
Yeah.
So knowing that, I already had it in my mind. Okay, this is happening. This is how it's going to be. But then when it becomes your reality, you still have like this mind shift. Like, okay, now, oh wait, got to prepare lunches. Oh wait, now we gotta pick you up from school, job. Like things that I was not doing before. So that was more so. So when I say a challenge, it's me more so of just changing my thinking and having one lifestyle and then getting used to another lifestyle. But all in all, it's been great, but there still are these challenges that are, that happen when you're trying to raise, just children in general. It's not going to be easy. So from that perspective, there were challenges, but there also are a lot of great moments.
Since she is a little bit older, is you all's relationship dynamic, like, did it resemble like big sis, little sis at all? Or was it always like mother and child?
That's such a good question. I think I was really intentional about not being like helicopter or like I'm your stepmom, so this is how it's gonna go. I really eased into it. So that perspective of big sis, little sis, I never thought about that, but maybe there was a little bit of that. At the end of the day, still, I'm a authoritative, figure. So it's not as if I'm like, okay, hey, let's go do this. So that's fine. I don't mind. There was still direction given and all of that. But yeah, I think I eased into things, getting to know her. What is she like? What do I like? Having conversations, going to get our nails done, like those kind of things, just to ease it in a little bit. And even now it's not, I'm like, but there's still moments to where, you want to have fun and you want to show your personality and being vulnerable. And being vulnerable is not always my strong suit. Still working on that. But you want to be vulnerable when you're meeting someone, especially meeting a child. You want to be transparent and honest, because you want to develop that trust, especially since I did not know her previous to, and now I'm getting to know her. So there's this level of, okay, there's a line, but then it's also like, okay, I'm your stepmother, but I'm not, you gotta do da, 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 da. That's not even my, my vibe at all. But so I think for me, it's more so of easing into it and then getting her comfortable, but then also knowing, hey, this is my role. And then also having the support of John. I think that is the biggest thing as her father. So she's looking to him for the guidance and direction. So as he's letting her know, this is how it is, he's setting that tone, right? And so it kind of helps me out to be a little bit more confident in my decision making and what I'm saying, because he's also being in that support role. So now it's like, he's like, hey, I trust you. What you think is best. We're in this together. It's you and me. And so that also helps to bring that extra level of confidence from someone that had no kids. And now at the time you have an 11-year-old.
No, that's really cool. I'm like imagining like the dynamic, like that transition. That's really interesting to think about, especially at that time period of like 11, 12, 13, like, whew, that treacherous age.
Yes. It is true. It can be. Oh man, the attitudes. I know I had them. Okay?
They're real.
I know I had the attitudes. When it's the flip side, like, oh, okay.
This is what they were dealing with. So sorry.
Right, but that's the thing, though, too. I think since she's such a good kid or a teenager, it makes it better. That her parents did a good job of raising her to this point. So I don't feel like it's so much work. Like, oh my gosh, I just know that there's some guidance and there's some, go this way and not that way, that kind of thing. At the end of the day, we all know children are gonna, grow up. They're gonna do their own thing. But I think if they see the right examples in the home, it will help. Help them along their journey of life. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into your own pregnancy. When you found out, how far along were you?
I was really early. Since we had been planning,
Yeah.
it wasn't a surprise.
Okay.
So it was, missed period, pregnancy test. John runs to the store. He ran to the store. I don't know why we didn't just have them. I don't remember
really
why. But he literally went to the store.
Wow.
I think it might have been a Friday night or some evening, and he went to the store. And I was like, it's a pregnancy test.
Walk me through that. Was that nerve-wracking? Like, did you guys have any type of like ritual you were about to do? Did you like, I don't know. I can't even imagine what people do. Did you light a candle?
Did not light a candle. No, what did we do? So we started trying. And so for me, missed period, well, for most women, but missed period means that you're pregnant. Mm-hmm. And so, or it could mean that you're pregnant. Let me say that. I don't want to say that for every woman. It's different. But for me, missed period, I'm like, okay, there's a chance that I could be pregnant. Mm-hmm. So went to the store, got the pregnancy test, and then took one and it was positive. Took another one. I was like, I don't know if I did it right. And John's like, you did it right. I'm like, let me just do it again. So I probably did it about 5 times. And then I woke up in the next morning. I was like, oh wait, I think in the morning it's better to test. I did it again. So I was like, and John's like, okay, I think we're good. I don't know. You just got to be careful. So then we decided that we were going to keep it kind of to ourselves. I think we might have told 1 or 2 kind of real close people, but it was really important just for us to kind of go through this part just by ourselves and getting to a certain trimester and all of that. That was important for me that I wanted to do. And so that was kind of how that part started. No lighting of the candles, no getting in a circle and do that. But we definitely were very excited. I think I saved the test. I probably still have saved them. I think that's a thing. Okay, but I saved the test.
You saved the
that's
test.
That's true. Okay. That's true. I did save the test. And then I didn't take a picture of that, I don't think. But since we were together, I know some people, the woman will surprise, her partner and all that. But since this was something that we both knew, I was like, no, we're going to find out at the same time. Okay. So,
yeah. Okay. So was that scary for you? Like you personally, you were like, now there is a being growing inside of me.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely scary because it's just, it's anything could happen. And I was trying not to feel negative because I did feel blessed. I wasn't feeling like sad or anything like that. I was blessed. I was very excited. But I just feel I'm a long-term thinker. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, we're having a kid, even though we planned it and we knew, but I think it's different when you're planning and then when you get in that moment. Yeah. Not necessarily the plans go out the window, but some of them may go out the window because now you're in that reality. Yeah. So being in that reality and thinking, okay, I'm thinking way ahead. I didn't even get through the first trimester and I'm thinking like, ahead of time, what we're going to do. Are we going to move? Are we going to do this? Like I'm already thinking instead of living in the moment. So I think that is something that I think is important, to live in the moment, still live your life, still do what you have to do, because then the being scared just can bring about other anxieties. And I think that I was trying not to have that happen. Yeah. And I was trying to stay in the moment. So
did you like think, did I have a drink? Like, did I all like?
Oh, that's a good question. Because I did. I did.
Oh, that's scary.
I forgot. See, I love this. I forgot. I did, but it was so early on. It was because the way that we did it. So I actually went out with some friends that the weekend before or something, but I thought that I was going to get my period during that time. So I just wasn't thinking anything of it. Yeah. Had like a lemon drop martini, the whole thing. Yeah. Had great conversations. It was good. Yeah. And then I was like, I think it was a week later is when I realized, I'm like, oh wait, I didn't get my period. Okay, if I don't get it by this date, like in my mind, I'm calculating, if I don't get it by this date, then I know it's going to be late. I've never had a late period ever. So I'm like, okay, in terms of late, I mean like completely missed. I've had it fluctuate, but just not completely missed period. And so I was like, okay, well, it's late. I missed it. Now let me take a test. And then I was thinking, but then in my mind, I'm like, it's so early on. Yeah. I wasn't concerned about it because I'm like, this is even before like my period was completely missed. I'm thinking it's coming during that, dinner with friends. So
got you. Yeah. Okay. That's okay.
That's a good question, though. But after that, I'm like, I'm not chancing it. I didn't even have a glass of wine.
No fish. What are like the
Yeah, they said so. And this is the thing. Google is your friend, but then Google is also not your friend. So I'm Googling things. But then I also, the doctor's office that we had started at, she was saying not to do like salmon. Okay. And what else? I just remember salmon because I like salmon. So I was like, okay. But everything else, I think it was things that I probably just didn't eat. Okay. But yeah, there are certain things that they say not to eat. But then you could go somewhere else and they're like, eat whatever you want.
First trimester, how'd that go? Are you okay? Or like morning sickness, like that's the norm, right?
Yeah. I never actually threw up. Okay. I just had a lot of nausea. Okay. That was the big thing for me. And then I had a moment to where I had like really bad, I don't know if it ended up being kind of constipation, but I had a lot of pain. And that was in the first trimester. And I remember calling John and being like, I wonder if I should go. I didn't know if I felt ER, but I felt like, okay, maybe we should go to the doctor. Let me see if I can get an appointment with the doctors just to get a scan and get checked out. But that didn't end up working out. And then I felt like it started getting a little bit more excruciating. And then we did speak with the nurse, I think. And then I was taking things, because there are certain things that you can take. Mm-hmm. So I was taking certain things. And then it kind of subsided. So that was probably the biggest thing. I think it might have just been constipation. Okay. But I think outside of that, the nauseousness was the probably the biggest thing during the first trimester.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Second trimester, did anything go crazy?
Yeah. So the second trimester, and I think this was second, or towards the end of the first one, I found out that I had fibroids. I did not know that I had fibroids prior to getting pregnant or anything like that. So that was a little bit scary. And that I maintained this level of like, okay, is she okay? Is she okay? Yeah. And I didn't find that out until I went to the doctors and they did a normal scan. And when that happened, the tech, she said, oh, you have fibroids. She said it so like nonchalant. I said, huh? Excuse me? Bring that back.
Slow down.
Now, I have familiarity with it because I have friends that have had the surgery from it and also fibroids. So it wasn't complete.
Really quickly, what is fibroids for the people?
Ooh, I knew you were going to ask that.
And is there like a general sense of what we're doing? Is it digestion? Is it?
So I want to say it's like a growth, and I don't want to be wrong because you're going to be putting this out here.
You could be wrong.
Might need to look it up. There are like these growths kind of that are in your uterus, or they align your uterus. And most Black women, it's prevalent in our community, 100%. Even when I did tell my doctor, she said, oh, everybody has them. Every Black woman has them. So some people are more just nonchalant, like it's fine. Yeah. And some people have 20 and 30 and they have multiple kids and it's not bothering them. Okay. So I think having the fibroids is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think when it starts to affect you, and that's kind of what the doctors were telling me. Oh, if it's not affecting you, then you're fine. The fibroids weren't along by the birth canal, so it wasn't affecting the baby at all. I was scared about it because this was a whole new thing. Yeah. But yeah, I think there are like kind of growths inside of your uterus that can align to the uterus, and then it can cause a lot of pain. A lot of it associated with periods. If you have really, really strong periods, a lot of cramping where you can't even get out of the bed, that kind of thing. And now that's some of the symptoms. I am not a doctor. Where's the camera? Not a doctor. So I don't want to put out misinformation, but I know that that's a symptom of fibroids for some women.
Okay. So second trimester, all of that started to come out.
Yeah. But ironically enough, I had some pain, but it wasn't as bad as what I was mentioning during the first trimester. It was just more so, I think a lot of it was I knew that I had the fibroids, so I was constantly worried about them to the point where I was just like, okay, is she okay? Oh, I feel kicking. Oh, great. Or I don't feel kicking. Is that normal? Yeah. So I think it caused a little bit of anxiety because of just knowing that I had the fibroids. But I had two. And I think they were one was 6 centimeters long, but then when I went for another checkup, they couldn't find the second one. And I did hear that they can break off So a doctor did tell me that.
Yeah.
So they did not find the second one. So I ended up just having the one, which I was grateful for,
Yeah.
happy about. But it didn't affect her at all. And that was my concern. I wasn't even as concerned about myself.
Yeah.
I think I was more concerned about just being pregnant, knowing that they were there. But then when I'm speaking to other women that are like, yeah, I have them and I'm fine. So it's just, I think it just depends. It affects some women in a negative way where there are things that they need to do, maybe change their diet, things like that, have certain surgery. I can't think of the name of the surgery that you have, but so there are measures, but it's so normal that at first I didn't normalize it, but then as I talked to more and more people and they were like, yeah, I have them, or I know someone that had them, it's very normal. And I'm just like, okay, but
So
there are ways, as I've done research later on, there are ways like with diet that could potentially change it and all of that can get rid of them or help. But yeah, it's very, very normal.
Look into this. Another worry on the anxiety list. Fun.
No, don't be worried about it. I didn't even think, I knew that fibroids existed.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the statistic is 1 in 4, 1 in 3.
Yeah.
And I knew women that had them, but I never was worried about it. I never even thought about it. Even when John and I were planning, that thought process, and I knew that it could happen. So don't even think about it, because then it may not even happen to you, and then you'll be completely fine.
I'll try not to. Getting back to the second trimester, I don't know. Do you have TikTok? Do you?
No.
Okay. Well, on TikTok, there's this girl with a list.
There's
like a specific list where she is taking note of every possible thing that could happen to you when pregnant, or I think like when giving birth, like, and it's like thousands.
I have to see this list.
Amazing. Like if you ever need, child like protection, birth or whatever, this is the greatest list you could read and you'd be like, oh, I'm good. We're never gonna have children. So
is she trying to stop people from
she's not like trying to stop
or she's
people.
keeping it real.
She's just keeping it real.
Okay, I respect that.
She's keeping it real and she's tracking, and there's the craziest stuff. So like you'll have the normal stuff of like swollen feet, backaches and all that stuff. But then like one of the most recent ones that I've been seeing going around is like your nose can like swell up to like
your nose spreads.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute now. I didn't know like face structure. And then I heard about like the baby is taking from your bone marrow, like actively taking from you, like as a human. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
Oh,
like,
that makes sense with all the pain.
So did anything like crazy happen like for you in terms of unusual things that you weren't prepared for?
No, I just think the fibroids were the biggest thing that were unexpected. Everything else, yeah, I definitely had swollen feet. I'm going through all of the things. Had swollen feet, and that made it hard. My feet got bigger.
Really?
But maybe that's more of an after, not, I guess, during some point. Yeah, and I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
That your feet can get bigger. And I was like, this is
permanently?
annoying. So I think it depends on the woman. I feel like there's been a couple women that I've spoken to and they said their feet went back down and now they're at their normal size. And then some of them were like, no, it stays. So I was like, oh, no, I didn't know this part. So that happened. Swollen feet, had the pains. Yeah, but nothing that was abnormal happened at all. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. And then third trimester, I guess you've like settled in to being pregnant now.
Yeah.
Is it easier? Is it like harder? Are you more annoyed? How are the hormones and the cravings?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I remember is just being hot and uncomfortable. So laying down becomes a thing. Trying to sleep. What is sleep? And people will say, get your sleep now. No, I'm not gonna get any sleep. But I understand. I see your heart, but I'm not getting any sleep.
What do you mean?
Because you're just uncomfortable. You have like this baby growing inside of you, and either like for me, she was kicking a lot, she's moving a lot, and it's just uncomfortable to carry around like a bowling ball, just around, and then being hot, all the different hormone changes and all of that.
Yeah.
So for me, I was extremely uncomfortable, and we were moving.
Yeah.
Do not recommend. Don't recommend
Crazy.
Yeah. So we were moving, so we're looking at houses and all of that. And so I think just all of that just kind of had me feeling like, okay, how many more months do I have? How many more weeks? So you begin to count down. For me, I began to count down at the third trimester, a little bit after the third trimester, because I'm like, it's hot. It's the summertime.
Yeah. Okay. So then,
So all of the things.
that nice little pregnancy pillow that I saw in the closet downstairs.
Yes.
Did nothing. I was like,
In the
this looks
beginning,
so
it did.
Okay.
But then I was like, okay, this isn't working for me. But it's comfortable though.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I just didn't have the right one or what. But it's like, I think after a while, you're just uncomfortable. And you have to just sit in that and just know it's only temporary. Okay. You know, I think that was my mindset of just, okay, it is what it is at this point. This is all part of the journey. And in my mind, I'm like, as long as she's good, she's healthy. Yeah. All the checkups went by so well. There were no issues at all. So I was just grateful and just feeling blessed that I'm like, she's fine. Yeah. So if I have to go through this, it is what it is. It's part of the journey. It's hard. It's challenging. Yeah. But I knew the bigger picture. Yeah. So
did you have a gender reveal party?
I did not.
You did not?
No.
Oh, hot take.
Yeah, I think they're cute. We wanted to know the gender. We didn't want to wait. We actually did. There's early testing that you can do to where they do it through like a blood sample, I believe. Yeah, blood test. And so we found out really early on. So I don't remember if I was all the way out of the first trimester or something like that. And it's a thing and you're able to know. So we knew ahead of time and I didn't want to wait.
Why?
I don't know. I think it's my mindset. I'm like, I just want to know, because then I can start mentally preparing, just from a standpoint of raising a little girl or raising a little boy, a black little girl, a black little, you know what I mean? In my mind, I just wanted to know.
As I told you, I'm a very chaotic person, and I think I would wait. I would wait till the day.
Yeah. But you could also, if you wait, you don't have to wait that long. Like, we could have decided to have it really, really early, which some people do. It's like, as soon as you get that paperwork, like, it was electronic, but as soon as you get that, it's like, okay, let's plan it for the next week. So you can do it so that way you know early, but you're saying you want to wait till...
Yeah, that's how chaotic I am.
Oh. That's great. I love that for you.
That's how chaotic I'm like, you know what?
The way my anxiety is set up,
and see.
I think, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's a problem with that. I think it's a control, a little bit of the control in me of like, okay, now it's a boy. Okay, great. Oh, now it's a girl. Okay, great. Now, not that I'm going to move different. Well, maybe. It's a boy and a girl. I'm going to probably move different. But in terms of just being prepared. But if I didn't know, or if John was like, hey, I don't want to know. Yeah. Might have been like, you sure? Let me give you a couple of days to think.
Just start.
So I probably would have
around the house a little bit.
Yeah, but I just think we were just in the state of, let's just know. That way we just know how to just move forward. So,
okay. How did you come to the name? Was that difficult? Were you Googling names of famous people who had this name prior in their life trajectory? Because I'm doing that now. I'm like, every name that I like, let's see if it's associated with an assassin in history and make sure it's not.
Well, names are important, right?
Very important.
So we had lists. So we had a list of names with list of boy names, list of girl names. But then obviously, we focused more on girls since we found out so early. So really our list was mainly girl names. I did some Googling. And I was trying to decide if I wanted like a different or unique name, or if I wanted something that was a little bit maybe not hard, but just something that, easy, like an easy name, just depending from my background. So I'm in HR and I'm like looking at resumes. I'm like, it's fine. Yeah. But it's like, okay, do I want them in school? Do I want them to be in the correct? Like those things kind of went through my mind. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, it doesn't matter. This is going to be her name. Yeah. If you can't pronounce it, you need to figure it out. So I kind of had this whole thing of going back and forth. Yeah. And then I just thought of something that was soft and kind of feminine. Yeah. And Autumn is just that, it's a feminine name. It's a soft name. And so I kind of thought about it from that perspective along with Googling as well. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Did you, when you were thinking about like the unique names, like how unique were you thinking?
I think the most unique, and this is just unique to me, was like Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
Because I don't know a lot of, like that name is just...
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to pronounce or anything, but it's still unique.
It's very
You don't
unique.
run across that kind of name. So Phoenix and I thought there was another name. Phoenix is the only one that I can remember, but we thought about Phoenix.
Yeah.
And then we decided to not go with that. And I don't know why we didn't, but I think it was just, let's just go with Autumn. And I think we're thinking of the full name too. So her middle name, the last name, and wanting it to kind of flow and all of that. So, yeah.
No, I think it's a good pick, and it's like unique enough.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's like spicy, like, you know, just like, oh, when were you born? You know, like nice little conversation starter.
Right. That's true.
No, that's cool. All right, let's get into it. The birth. The birth.
Hold on to your seat.
I don't even know where to begin with asking the questions about birthing a child, because like the just utter and complete panic that I have now, as if I am pregnant.
I need you to not have that. Because it could go differently for you. And it probably will, because everybody's journey is different.
Where were you when you went into labor?
At the hospital.
Oh, wait. Were you, is it induced?
Yeah. Okay. Look at you. You know a little something. I was. So she was a week late.
Okay.
So they were like, you got to be induced.
Okay.
I was doing all of the things, sitting on the pregnancy ball and, you know, walking. And they say that there's things that you can do. But then I had a doctor tell me that, like, she's going to come when she's ready. And so you can do all those things. And sometimes it does work for women. Well, I believe it works for some women. But I was doing a lot of the things, eating dates. And dates are nasty, by the way. But I was trying to, you do? Gabriella.
A nice, like, little sweet treat.
I think they're good for you, so it's probably but I was trying to eat different things and doing the walking and all of that, and she was not budging, and I wasn't concerned because I was like, oh, okay. So then they decided to schedule at my 40th week, they scheduled an induction for that following week.
Okay. And then I guess, so you were aware that it was about to happen.
Yeah, because as you get to that 40, because I think some people deliver between 34, 36 and on, I think. So as I kind of got to like that 36 mark, I was like, okay, she could come.
Yeah.
Like, that's on the table. And we were also traveling. We went to Grenada. At like 30 weeks. 30, I think I was about 30 weeks.
Wow.
My doctor said, have fun.
Oh my God.
I was like, should I go?
About
and she
to have
said,
a nice little island
have
baby.
fun. It's fine. And I think it's also because of just the whole, my whole pregnancy and how there weren't any complications that were really severe. And I think that's possibly why. Yeah. But it's hot in Grenada, so I do not recommend doing that at 30 some weeks pregnant. So around 36, I was like, okay, it's coming. Like, she's coming. Always. Yeah, she's getting there. You got to get we took a pregnancy class. So, you know, you learn things there. You get your bag ready, like so you start to mentally prepare. I was already on leave, maternity leave. So I was really kind of able to like, okay, mentally prepare. But then there's another side to where you get into your nesting phase where you're trying to clean up everything. I want to make sure her room was like perfect, knowing full well most babies are with you, like the bedside bassinet.
Yeah.
At least their first month or two, depending on your situation, but you'll have your baby by you in their bassinet in your room. So I'm like, I want the room to be, you know, done. And then I'm like, doesn't really need to be. I wanted the painting to be done and all that before she got in. But outside of those things, I'm like, okay, it's fine if everything doesn't get done. So there are a lot of those anxieties there.
And you decided to have, you made the decision to have the birth in a hospital versus like at home. Like,
yeah.
How did you come to that?
So I thought about it briefly to have a home birth. But I think as time went on, I focused more so of my attention on trying to get a doula. Yeah. And then I didn't think about the home birth. Okay. Now, I did not have a doula. It just didn't work out. I like the value and I see the value in doulas, but I think as I got further along and I got a lot of information from, you know, family and friends that have been pregnant. So I kind of just took that and kind of check my own self, like, hey, how do I feel? Do I need this? Do I need that? But I love doulas. We were so close to getting a doula. We interviewed and everything, talked to a lot of great women, but we just ultimately decided not to go that route. So I think that's why I didn't think about home birth, because I was really wrapped up in a doula and if we wanted a doula. And then also we were moving. There's so many different things happening. Yeah. But no, I decided against the home birth.
Yeah, that would have kind of been chaotic to be in the
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's so true. I didn't even think about that. Maybe that's also why I was just like, no, I think it's beautiful.
Like, whose home were you about to be in?
Right. What if we didn't get a house? What if we're on the street? No, I'm just kidding. Just joking.
In the car.
So it was just like, yeah, so we were looking for homes and all of that. And so, yeah, in transition, we were in one house transitioning into another house. And so, yeah, that definitely would have been too much.
Okay. That makes sense. And then did you ever like think about like a water birth or anything?
Yeah. So with the home birth, I thought of having they set up like the pool, the water. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did think about that, but I didn't give it that much thought.
Like in the hospital.
Oh, in the hospital. No, I didn't think about that. Yeah. And we did learn about that through the pregnancy class. There was kind of a section on different ways to give birth. And so I thought about it, but I was just, at that moment, I was just content with like the hospital. I knew someone that had 2 kids there.
Oh, nice.
And so I felt comfortable with the hospital.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I kind of just went with it.
Deep question.
Okay.
As a Black woman, did you have fears going into the hospital and delivering a baby?
Absolutely.
What was those thoughts, those feelings?
That I would not make it, and I thought about that a lot. Towards the probably middle and towards the end, I thought about it and I'm like, okay, what is this? Or even just checking my body, like, okay, was that a kick or is that pain? Like just kind of, towards the end, just making sure that she's okay. Because I felt, even though there's a certain period of where you kind of feel like, okay, I'm over the hump, I'm good, but you just can't help, you read a lot of things. And these are true stories that happen to Black women. So it's like, I definitely was very, even when it comes to like the doctor, I wanted to connect more with Black doctors. I wanted to, when we were looking at doulas, I wanted a Black woman. I was just like, this is what I want, So yeah, I think a lot of those fears are valid. But at the same time, I try not to let it take over me because then I'm going to be so anxious and then it doesn't happen and everything happens, the way that it's supposed to happen and you're alive, you're getting off that table. So it's just like, I didn't want it to overcome me, but for sure I thought about it.
Did you talk to John about it? And did you all have a conversation of me or the baby?
Did we? I know we talked about it, but I don't remember if we had that conversation about it. But that's really good. And I don't think we talked about it that deeply.
For you, I guess you like know your child who is growing in you. Was it absolutely baby over you?
I would say yes. But in that moment, that's a really hard question. When you first asked me that, I was thinking, yes, just get her out. You want her to have that life, and grow up and all of that. So in that moment, or now that I'm thinking about it, probably definitely baby over me. Yeah.
Do you think John would have had
He'd probably
enough?
say me. But I could be wrong. Because you never know. It's like you say all these things. Like, again, like I was saying earlier, you plan, but it's just like sometimes the plans go out the window when you're actually in reality. So I'm sitting here saying he probably would say me. Yeah. But if he agreed with me and said baby, I think I'd be fine too. But again, being in that moment, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah. I'm always like imagining like if I'm partner, if I'm husband, I'm like, I don't know this child.
Right. I know my wife and she could
have another child.
And that could also be,
lineage,
exactly.
Like,
exactly. And that's why I'm like, my first thing was baby. But I think in that moment, it's like, I want to live. You know what I mean? I want to live. Right. I want to be here.
Yeah. That's a lot. All right. Get me into all the gruesome details of birth. Let's do it.
Photo for me. Let's see. Where do I start? So I got to the hospital. Maybe that's a good place to start. Once I got there, we checked in, and you have your nurse that kind of helps you out. And we, the induction part started maybe about an hour or two. They kind of get you comfortable sitting in the bed. I had a birth plan. So you kind of hand them the birth plan. They look over it. The doctor comes in. So it's a whole thing for probably about 1 to 2 hours. And I think that's a part of is getting comfortable with everything. And also they have like the pregnancy ball and all of that beforehand. So that was about 2 hours, I think, give or take. And then they started the process. And then my contractions started kind of quickly. And I think every woman's body is different. Sometimes after you are induced, it takes a little bit of time, or sometimes your body doesn't even take it and you have to get either induced again, or there's other measures that they can do. So I started contracting not immediately, but fairly close. It got to the point where I was contracting too much. And it got to be a lot. And so my water broke. That was crazy. And the nurse,
crazy?
because
was that a lot of water?
Well, it was, and I've never had that feeling of like water, obviously, but I've never had that feeling, so I didn't really know what to expect.
Yeah,
I went in there like, I just want to make it to see my child. Like that's kind of my mindset, so I didn't really think about the pain once we got there. So my water broke, and the nurse, bless her heart, this is what they do, but it's still, they're great. Nurses are wonderful. Yes. And she was cleaning it up. And I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, I want to say sorry. But I'm like, wait, I don't need to say sorry. This is a part of it.
Yeah.
But she was just cleaning it up. And I was like, is it going to keep breaking? My water kept breaking and break. And I was like, is this a thing? And she said, yeah, it's going to keep going. What? And it's not pain.
Okay.
It just keeps breaking. And then I'm thinking, okay, the baby's going to come out, but I wasn't fully dilated. You have to be dilated a certain centimeter before the baby can come out. So I wasn't quite there yet. So I'm having these contractions. My water's breaking.
How much water? Like, I was like, we're not like at gallons, are we?
I don't think it was gallons. Okay. I just think it was a lot.
Okay.
And then I wasn't sure whether I wanted to get an epidural or not.
Yeah.
That's kind of the big thing. Like, you want an epidural or not? My take was if the pain got really bad. So they asked me ahead of time, and I said, I don't want it right away. I want to try to see how long I can just deal with the pain. I needed the epidural. I said, yeah, I need it. I think I might have been real calm because I wasn't like loud or screaming or crazy, but I just was like, yeah, it's crazy. I was like, no, because you're like, your body tenses up when the contractions come, and you're just like, my body kept tensing. I was holding onto the edge of the bed because I was standing when my water broke, and so I was holding onto the edge of the bed, and I'm like, okay. Wait, so is this gonna stop or no? So then I decided to get the epidural. Okay. Because at a certain point, it's too late. And I didn't want to get to that point where it was just like, they told me no. So actually, I think I might have just made it. I was trying to hold out. Yeah. Which, it just depends on who you are. It ended up not being a big deal, but for some women, it is a big deal. Yeah. And so for me, I was just like, I just need it. I need this pain to subside.
Was it the most excruciating pain that you've ever experienced in your life?
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing about it is it comes and goes.
I was hoping you said
but no. It comes and goes though. It was just like I had a time where I was like, okay, and then I'm like, what? Okay, it's happening again. Like, so it's kind of like, it comes and goes. And the period where it was kind of flat, and I was just kind of like, okay, so what are you about to do? Oh, okay, so
okay, what? Compare it to something. Oh, are we being stabbed in the stomach? Are we being like, our insides are being wrung out? I heard someone say it was like a knife cutting through their midsection. What anything comparable in average life?
So you said like a rag. What was that you just
like
used?
Your inside being twisted?
Yeah, that's I think more so. Out. That's kind of more so what it felt like. Okay. But again, it was just quick. Because the contractions, they happen and they stop. And then they happen. And in terms of just, I guess it depends on how far apart they are. Like the whole thing of like, if they're this far apart, I don't remember them telling me. I just remember feeling them. Okay. And then when I felt them, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, like your body stiffens up and then they stop. And then your body, so it's just like, but you can feel them coming. And that's the part where it's like, here they're coming. But I reacted to it, but I didn't scream. It was funny because when we first got there was a woman in the room next door and she was screaming. I remember telling John, that's about to be me. I don't want to be screaming like that. So John said I didn't scream like that, but you do kind of feel like, oh my God. Like, it's like almost like you're, I don't know how to, like a kind of like a moan, like a, oh my God. Like it's like a moan, really, more so. Okay. Yeah.
And epidural, because you said like it's a big thing for some women. Like it gets into like, are you a mother? Doesn't it? Like, motherhood.
That's the thing.
Are you a real woman?
Which is crazy. Yeah, it's just like the same thing with C-sections.
Yeah, like
you birthed a baby. It doesn't matter. Like, it's the craziest thing. Oh, I hate that topic. It just doesn't make any sense. You birthed the baby. That's a blessing in itself. Yeah. However she or he got here, they're here. Yeah. And kudos to you as their you know what I mean? That's really how I feel. But for the epidural, yes, I decided to get it. The reason wasn't because of the stigma. It was just because I'm like, okay, I thought I had a pretty high tolerance for pain. I got a couple tattoos. I'm like, okay, I can maybe not little tattoo here is nothing compared, but prior to, that's how I'm thinking. Like, I'm thinking of what have I done that has caused pain. When I had my surgeries, I'm like, oh, okay, that was a lot of pain, you know. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe I can handle it. And I could not, and I was ready for that thing. Now the only problem is I had already started contracting, I think. And so I couldn't keep my body still, and you know, with the epidural, you have to keep it still.
It's spine.
Yes, you move a little bit and something can go wrong, but I couldn't keep my body still. That poor guy, he was like, he could tell he does this all the time, but he kind of came in real straight face, like he was coming in doing his job. And I just could not. They got me on the table or on the thing, and I'm like trying to sit still. John's holding me, the nurse is holding me, and then I'm like squirming because of the contractions, and they're like, you have to stay still. I understand that, but I might have waited too late to get this because I can't. So long story short, I was able to stay still. Okay. And then he was able to put the epidural in. And then, immediately you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. You are excited. Really? Now the contractions are still coming and all of that. You're still feeling it, but it's not in the same way. At least for me, it wasn't the same level of pain prior to.
Now, I know the epidural is a giant needle though, right? As well.
Yeah.
Did that hurt?
No, I don't remember. I think I'm contracting. So a little needle ain't nothing. But pluck me all up. Like, I don't even remember feeling it. I'm pretty sure maybe I felt it real quick. Yeah. Maybe. Wow. But I couldn't see it. So it wasn't like I'm like watching, you know, I think it's worse when you're like watching. So I wasn't able to see it. So.
Okay. Wow. Just the fact that, you know, a giant 6-inch needle is nothing compared to contractions. Just
especially when you don't see it. I think maybe for women that decide to get it ahead of time, and their experience is probably different, but I waited. Right there. Send them in. They had to like call them in and everything. I know they were like, why didn't she just do this before? Because I thought I could thug it out. I thought I could.
Okay, so continue. You got the epidural. You're feeling better. Your body's feeling better. Yeah. Then I guess smooth sailing from there, or
no. So after that, I think I started dilating a certain. I can't remember how far I got. And then it was go time. Now I was in, I think, active labor, not too long. I think maybe 5 to 7 hours, something like that. That's not which long. Isn't long time, no. And I think it's just because being induced and how things kind of happen so quickly that I think that's also why. And I want to say maybe 8 hours at the most, but that was the whole process. It's go time. And then they're putting your legs back and you're like, okay, you got to push. Now ahead of time, they do tell you like, okay, you're going to push, but if pushing kind of fails, there's different options. And then they were like C-section. Now, I did not want a C-section, but of course, if I had to have one, but going in, I just was like, I'm here up to this point. Let me just try to do it vaginally. Now, the thing about it for me is like the pushing part. I didn't really practice. You're supposed to push a certain way. And so they were telling me how to push. So I was trying to do it. And then I don't know that I was really like, every contraction, you're supposed to push. And they're like, okay, and stop. Like, they're really strict about telling you when to push and when to stop pushing. And now I can feel the contraction, so I'm ready to push. Like, hey, go ahead, push. So John's holding one leg, the nurse holding another leg, and I'm like starting to push. And then some blood splatters on the nurse. And John said, because I don't remember this, he said she just kept it moving.
That's crazy.
But there's a lot of blood, you know? And so I don't remember even being grossed out about it a lot. I was really kind of, my legs were up, so I wasn't like, let me go down. And I just, at that point, I'm like, I'm just ready for her to get here. No one wants to my knowledge, no woman really wants to stay in that position. You're over it. You're ready for this baby to come out. You're not, oh, this is cute. I'm going to keep contracting. No. When is she coming? She get here now. So I did push several times. So it wasn't like a one and done. So that part took a little bit of time. And then once she did come out, it was like the whole, I see the head, and they're like, keep pushing. And it's just like, that does give you that motivation of just like pushing.
Wow.
Now in my room, there were a lot of people in there. Now there were medical, it was not doctors, it was like nurses and I think maybe some residents.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. So I remember telling the doctor, is there a party in here? Like, I was just like, why are there so many people? And I didn't explicitly say, I don't know, for my birth plan, I didn't say these are the only people that I want. I don't remember saying that. And if I did, they failed miserably with that. But I know that there is a period where people from the NICU will come in, like some of the staff, just in case if something is wrong with the baby, they can take the baby immediately.
Yeah.
Which was fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was like a dozen people in that room, and I'm like, do they need a lot? So that was a lot for me, but I didn't care after, because I'm like, I just want her out. It doesn't matter. But that, I think I would have wanted to change that part, because it just kind of felt like there was a lot of talking and everything, and it was just like, so are we just out having a cookout?
No way.
Or is this
like, people are just chit-chatting while
yeah,
this is all going on?
Yeah, but then they were all cheering me on. It's a very interesting experience. Very interesting. I know everybody's not like that. Every situation is different. But that was the one thing I think I would change, because it just felt like, I get a couple people need to be in the room for, emergency purposes. I am 100% complete with that. But I'm like, there's too many people in this room. So I remember telling them, there's a lot of people in here. What did you say? Or no? So that part was a little bit.
What did you say?
But then again, my mind was not really focused on them. It was like, okay, it's time.
Yeah.
So and then when she came out, she was crying. She thankfully didn't have to go to the NICU. She was completely healthy. They did wiped her down. John cut the cord, the whole thing. But then I had a vaginal tear. And so from pushing, so they had to stitch me up. While they were stitching me up, I was losing blood, and I lost about 2 liters of blood, and I had to have a blood transfusion. Yes. What? A blood transfusion.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. The fact that in real time we were not getting this news. We got babies here.
Right. But you know what? You did get the mom and baby are here. I know mom and baby are healthy. But what's crazy about it is I never felt scared. I just was shivering.
Yeah.
I remember just being like, is this normal? Like, I'm like chattering, and I'm like, why am I shivering? I remember that, but I never felt like, oh my goodness. I don't remember. I think I was just so tired from all the pushing, and just, you're tired.
Yeah.
At the end of that, you're happy. They put her on my chest. I did the, now I'm blanking, the chest,
baby on the chest. Yeah, I know exactly what
yes. I did that, and it was great, that part. But then it was just, they were trying to stitch me up. And then another doctor had to come in to stitch me up, and that was interesting. And so all that was happening, and then I didn't realize I needed to get the blood transfusion until the end when they were done. And the doctor was like, I remember her kind of kneeling down, because I was kind of sitting up at this point, and she was just like, yeah, you're gonna need to have a blood transfusion, but it's okay. And I did cry, because I never had a blood transfusion before. So I did cry, because I'm like not understanding, and I didn't feel like sickly. Like, they kept saying, do you feel nauseous? And I'm like, no, I don't feel anything. I just felt like, why am I just shaking? And so then they told me it's very normal. They obviously have my blood type through all of the blood that they take anyway. And so it was fine. And they came in and they did it. And then I think I think I only had one. I think they were going to come back and do the second one, but I felt completely fine. And they said that your blood kind of, I guess, recycled itself. And so I didn't really need like a whole lot. But that was interesting because I never had the blood transfusion. And also during that time, I was just so tired. And like the nurses, they come in and I chose to breastfeed.
Yeah.
So they were like, gotta breastfeed. And I'm like, can I get a second?
Like in the middle of the transfusion?
No, well, it was right before the transfusion. So it was right after, and I was sitting there, and the nurse or the doctor had come in and explained everything to me and what happened and all of that, that the nurses were trying to, as soon as basically that she got out.
Yeah.
They were trying to do all of that.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just like, I just need a second because you're just tired. So I remember telling them, can I get a second? And I was really, really firm about it because I didn't need an hour. I just needed a couple of minutes. It's okay. Please just give me a second. So they were like, okay. At first they weren't getting it, and then they got it, and then they left, gave me a couple minutes, and then came in. And then they were just apologizing and all that because it was just like, I needed like a minute. I didn't even need 5 minutes. I needed just a minute just to like, can I just be in this moment before you're putting her on the boobie? Like, give me a second. So then that happened, and I started the breastfeeding journey there. But it was a lot. But I felt great. I felt blessed in that moment because I'm like, okay, I'm here. She's healthy. There's nothing wrong with her. And in a sense, there really wasn't anything wrong with me. It was just that complication. But I didn't feel like life or death moment for me. It kind of felt, the way that they were acting was that it was normal. And I think that also helped me. They weren't rushing, get her downstairs, get her to the thing. They were like, this is what we have to do. And then I'm crying, and they're like, it's okay. She's holding my hand. It was the whole thing because I just didn't expect that. But it ended up being fine. And then had that blood transfusion, and then I stayed at the hospital. I think we did 2 nights there, and then we were on our way.
Wow. I'm processing. Like, that's
Take your time.
Crazy.
Take your time.
I need a minute now. Like, woo, what a journey. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just, wow.
Again, I want to preface this by saying everybody is different.
Everybody is different.
Because I've heard stories that are more crazier than mine. Really? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, so I just feel like it just depends on your body. Everybody's like, even from being pregnant, some people have complications then. And then they get there, just blood pressure or whatever the situation is, or the baby's not healthy and all these things. And so when I look at it big picture, I'm like, it wasn't really that bad. Wow. In the moment, having blood transfusion is serious, and I don't want to take that away. But I think when I'm thinking about it just holistically, I'm like, okay, I'm here, she's here. We're both healthy. They did what they had to do with the transfusion, and then I was fine. I had a little bit of kind of dizziness, but I didn't have any issues to where they were telling me you need more. They asked me if I wanted more, and I said, no, I'm fine. Yeah. So it was just,
the beauty of life, y'all. Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. That goes crazy. Wow. That's, woo. Really gonna have to settle and doing one of those. Wow. I have like a gazillion more questions. But I am being mindful of the time. We are like an hour and 5 minutes, and we'll probably like have to have part 2.
Let's do it
because oh my God. But I do want to ask about like immediately after, and then like now it's been like 7 months after, like how that's going. But here's another one of those girl with the list. With the list. She said, down there will never be the same. It won't be what it was in your 20s. Like, I don't even know how to say this. Like, it's just not gonna be what it was. And has that been your experience? Like that, it's different now.
No, I think in the beginning, after the healing process, because it's dissolvable stitches that they give you, and then literally once they're done, once they dissolve, that's it. So I remember going for my 6-week checkup, and my doctor was like, if I didn't even know that you had the stitches, and like she was like, I couldn't even tell by looking. Wow. So I think that that healing part, I think it was different for my body. Like I was going to sound crazy. I was making Thanksgiving dinner. And this was like 2 weeks after. I don't know. I just felt, now I sat down because you do have pain where it's like, girl, sit down. So I did sit down. I'm not like, oh, I was making the turkey. It was a very mild, really short Thanksgiving. It wasn't a lot of food, but I just felt like, okay, I just want to kind of keep moving. So I wasn't like bedridden or anything. So I think for me, I had the moment, like maybe about 2 months of like, okay, there's still kind of some pain. I'm still kind of feeling it a little bit. And they give you all of the things like the witch hazel pads and it's the comfortable underwear. Like it's a whole thing, the pads, you're spraying water up there. Like it's bloody, it's the whole thing that's happening. But for me, once I got through that period, I felt fine. And then of course you have to resume to have sex. And I was like, okay. So John's like counting down like 6 weeks left.
6 weeks? That's scary.
It's 6 weeks where you should wait. Yeah. I waited longer because I was like, I don't know. Because of what you just said, it's just like I wasn't sure how my body was going to do. Yeah. And so I wanted to wait longer just for me. But no, I didn't feel that. That is a thing. Yeah. But for me, I feel like maybe after the second kid sometimes, but I was able to, after that period of maybe 2 to 3 months, I kind of started feeling okay down there. Okay. I didn't feel like a lot of pain once I had the checkup. Yeah. And she was saying everything was fine. You still kind of move gingerly because you're just like, wait, you're like,
that's what I'm saying.
In the mirror, like, I'm scared. So I did move so softly because even when they said it's fine, for me, I wanted to wait way longer before anything because I was just like, I don't know. What if something happens? What if there's a stitch that didn't dissolve yet? Yeah. Like, and then what happens if I start bleeding in the middle of sex? Like, it's just all of these things that you think about that I thought about that I was just like, okay, let me just wait. But I think body wise is what is not the same. Like I don't feel like the same person. Really? Like I feel like myself in the sense of like I'm still want to go out, I'm outgoing, I'm all of those things, but my body just feels different. And I'm like having a hard time deciding, okay, I know it's a pregnancy, but also I'm older, right? And not in the sense of more mature, right? Like I'm not doing the same stuff I was doing in my 20s. 36 right now is kind of just that whole thing. And so that was kind of what I thought about too. Just that feels this change of just in my body, and things don't always feel the same. My hormones have not leveled out yet. I'm surprised I'm not hot. I think it's because there's good air coming through, but I'm always hot. Really? Like bring your hoodies when you come over because it's like that. Now I don't know when that's gonna level out, but that's probably post that is like the hardest thing for me because I've never felt hot. So it feels like I'm still, in a way, when you're pregnant, you feel hot a lot. It feels like that just didn't stop. And my body is trying to regulate my temperature. So,
that's, woo. Wow. So like you have a new kind of body that you're moving
It's just, because if you think about it, it's a baby inside your body messing with all your organs. Just around there, just having the time of their life. And you're on the outside like, what are you doing in there? So it is this feeling of like, your body is changed. And I don't know how to really explain. I haven't been able to put words to it yet, but it is like a change where I do feel different. Wow. But I have to think about the wording, but that's a thing and I do feel it.
I don't think I like ever kind of considered that, like they like people who've been pregnant and then like had kids, they always like say your body is different, your body changes. Yeah. And I don't know, like my weight has fluctuated, and so I'm like, I know what it feels like.
That too.
Your body to change.
For me, the weight.
So I think
still trying to get rid of these pounds.
That's the only thing I like was thinking of, but it sounds like you're saying like no, like it goes beyond just like the weight, like you're in a new vessel. Like your body just feels different, and you also sometimes have to move different too. Like you'll have certain pains that you haven't had before. I haven't felt that yet, but you may have been able to like squat before and now you can't squat, like some of those things. I haven't felt that yet, and I'm only 7 months in. Like I don't know how long the period is, but for the past 7 months it's more just been I'm tired a lot more than normal, so the energy isn't there.
And then also just feeling hot. Those are kind of the biggest things that I have. But the pain and all that, I'm like, is it old age? Is it my knees? You know, so it's trying to figure that out. But those two things are kind of the main thing.
Wow. The list.
Yeah, she's on to something.
Be prepared.
Right.
All right. Well, I do want to, come to a close. But, the question as old as time, would you do it again?
Yes.
Wow. You didn't hesitate. Why didn't you hesitate? Why didn't you pause for a moment time just to reconsider?
I feel like
told me.
Because it's just a temporary feeling. Parts of it, of course, is lifelong because you have a baby now. But in terms of like my body, I'm temporarily putting my body through this. I'm not going to be pregnant for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's a period of time where you're pregnant. And then once you have the baby, then you have your body back in a sense. And then you're able to kind of rebuild, whatever that looks like, losing weight or mentally rebuild. And that, because it's all about, it's not just physical. You're mentally trying to like think, okay, now I don't have the baby. Your mind has to like get back to, okay, I don't have a child in me, because you're used to it. You're for almost a year, right? You're pregnant.
Yeah.
And so when you think about it, the 9 months or 10 months, whatever, it's like, okay, I'm pregnant and I'm used to being pregnant.
Yeah.
And then the baby is gone and you're like, okay, wait, I'm not pregnant anymore. Like, so it's a mental thing as well as physical. So I think knowing that, and I've been through that, now the second one could be different. Yeah. But at least I have a pretty good idea of what I could, at the minimum, right? Yeah. Like other things could happen, but at the minimum, these are the things that could happen. And so knowing that, and again, I'm a planner. So knowing that could happen, okay, cool. Yeah. Get through that. And then that's it. Now, will I do it a third time? No. I said one more in me, and that's it. But then I also think about, if not, will I be fine? Yeah. And yes, we have 2 children together, and it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. This may never end. Postpartum depression, yes, no?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure that out. 7 months in, I'm still trying to figure that out. Because it's like there's this energy, like low energy that I feel, or I don't always feel like doing things. And I'm like, I have to like pick myself up, you know, really like mentally and physically. I'm like, let me get out of this bed. You know, so I think parts of it, but what I did notice is once I get out and I'm out doing things, I feel 10 times better. So for me, I can stay in this like funk of just like, or I can get up and kind of push myself. So I find myself kind of really pushing myself. And also I got to be there for Autumn, right? So I'm pushing myself in the ways of motherhood, making sure she has everything she needs. And so I think it's just, I've experienced it, but not the research that I've done, not to the extent of others. I think for me, it's just been more of just mental and trying to get my mind right and getting back to like, what was I doing before Autumn? Let me get back to doing things that I love doing. Yeah. Let me pay attention to my body. Let me get my self-care. And that's kind of the biggest thing that I tell my friends is like, when you have a baby, once you have the baby, of course, you want your partner and your husbands to be there and be supportive, of course. And if they are, that's great. It's the best ever when they're supportive. And John is all of that. So it makes it so much easier. But taking time for yourself, and you have village, you have a support system. All of those are important if you have that. And we are blessed to have all of those things. And so for me, now that I know in my mind, I'm like, I want to keep her all the time. I'm like, no, but then I'm like, yeah, she has to go and, you know, see other people. And, you know, the village wants to see her. She needs to see the village. You know, it's not just mommy and daddy and sister. It's like there's other people too. Yeah. So knowing that I can lean on grandparents and all of that. And then, of course, John too, it does make it helpful. But self-care. So all that to say, self-care is so important in motherhood. You gotta you're not gonna be good for your children, for your husband. You're not gonna be good for anybody if you're not, if you don't, and not even just being a mother, just being a woman. Like, you gotta take time for yourself, or you will have nothing to give. And so I think that's one thing that I'm learning, but that's one thing that I've been telling a lot of my friends that are wanting to have children, that it's like, take time for yourself. Make time. It's going to be hard, but try your hardest to make that time. And so that's what I'm working on.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That is so good. Of course, the questions are never ending, but we're going to end it there for today.
I'm so excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming on, for being vulnerable, for giving us the juicy details.
Yeah.
Because, I need it. I need to know what I potentially might sign myself up for.
Yeah.
But this is great.